Now let's get to the latest on the Sean Diddy Combs federal trafficking and racketeering trial in New York City. After 6 weeks of testimony, the government today has started to present closing arguments in their case against the music mogul. The feds characterized Combs as the leader of a criminal enterprise, and that enterprise serviced Combs' personal desires through a pattern of, quote, violence, coercion, and manipulation, end quote. In addition to that, the feds allege Combs committed several crimes that include kidnapping, arson, forced labor, bribery, trafficking. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. If convicted on all counts, he could face up to life in prison.
The trial of Sean Diddy Combs is drawing to a close, and on the final day, the prosecution ensured that no detail was overlooked. They delivered their closing arguments with sharp focus on 2 major points. First, they highlighted that Casey was compelled to participate in freak-offs against her will, presenting a strong narrative of coercion and manipulation. Second, they argue that Diddy leveraged his vast influence and the reach of his empire to facilitate these events, effectively using his company as a tool to carry out these actions. This case, they stressed, wasn't merely about isolated incidents, it was about a profound abuse of power at the highest level.
The prosecutor, in closing, calling Combs the leader of a criminal enterprise who didn't take no for an answer, saying Combs, quote, forced and manipulated Cassie Ventura and Jane to have sex with escorts for his own entertainment and used power, violence, and fear to get what he wanted. Combs is the only defendant, but the prosecutor told the jury he did not act alone, saying, quote, he managed to do this for 2 decades because he used his money, his influence, and his inner circle to cover up his crimes. It's his kingdom. Everyone was there to serve.
The prosecutor made it plain that a single freak-off would be sufficient for the jury to grasp the seriousness of the matter. She emphasized that identifying even one confirmed incident would stand as undeniable proof in its most alarming form. She asserted firmly that just one instance of such exploitation would justify convicting Diddy and ensuring he is held accountable through imprisonment.
Necessarily feel like it. The prosecutor's presentation for the last 7 weeks has been rather sprawling, and at times it felt disjointed. Witnesses testified that may or may not have had anything to do with one another. Today was the chance for prosecutors to try to tie all of that together and all of the evidence about hundreds of freak-offs that the jury heard about, saw graphic footage of, and today prosecutors said a single freak-off is enough. That the jury just had to find that sex trafficking elements were met by prosecutors one time in order to convict.
In her extensive 5-hour closing argument, the prosecutor repeatedly underscored that everyone involved was ultimately there to serve Diddy, describing it as his personal domain. She consistently pointed out that each testimony reflected an unmistakable abuse of power. According to her, this manipulation and pressure were not simply examples of individual wrongdoing, but clear indications of racketeering, revealing a deep-rooted system of power misuse within his entire operation.
It was his kingdom, she said. They were there to say yes, because she said over and over in a rhetorical flourish, Sean Combs would not take no for an answer.
A significant moment in court today was the appearance of Diddy's family. All 6 of his children, along with his mother, were present to show their support. Their attendance brought an emotional element to the proceedings as they stood by Diddy during one of the most difficult periods of his life, especially with the serious legal challenges surrounding him.
So we saw everyone from Janice Combs, Diddy's mother, Charlucci, who's one of Diddy's very close friends, who's been inside that courtroom every single day of trial and even was attending some of those pre-trial hearings too. We saw Keisha Combs, that's Sean Combs' sister, Justin Combs, Sean Combs' son. Quincy was there, again, that's also Sean Combs' son. Lisa Hilton, who is the mother of Justin Combs, was there. Sarah Chapman, who is Diddy's daughter, Chance's mother. And then, of course, the twins were there, that being Delilah Combs and Jesse Combs. And so it's interesting, the only one that notably was absent from what I could see inside the main courtroom was just Christian Combs. But everybody else, and I should also say probably his youngest daughter, that being Love, she wasn't there inside the...
As the trial approached its conclusion, Diddy appeared noticeably concerned. With the end drawing near, the weight of the situation seemed to settle heavily on him. He did not attempt to respond to the accusations during the prosecution prosecution's final arguments. Observers reported that Diddy remained tense throughout, his posture and expressions showing the pressure he was under. At one point, he was seen looking down, seemingly unsure whether to review his notes or simply taken aback by the seriousness of the moment. It was evident that the final stages of the trial were affecting him deeply.
A bit with the family, he did scribble a number of notes during the prosecutor's summation, writing them on little Post-its, handing them over to his attorneys. But at one point, I thought it was interesting, he sat far back, his chair pushed far back from the table, away from his usual confiding position with his attorneys, Eva, and had his head down, whether in thought or reading notes. But it seemed a moment where he might have been, as much as he can be these days, by himself.
As the case moved toward its final stages, developments took an unexpected turn. Today, prosecutors carefully outlined why the government had brought RICO charges against Diddy. They connected the evidence in a way that had not been as clearly presented earlier in the trial. While previous arguments struggled to fully link the details, this time the prosecution delivered a more structured and convincing summary. They clearly established the connection between Diddy's actions and the racketeering charges.
It was almost 5 hours, and I have to say, it did not necessarily feel like it. The prosecutor's presentation for the last 7 weeks has been rather sprawling, and at times it felt disjointed. Witnesses testified that may or may not have had anything to do with one another. Today was the chance for prosecutors to try to tie all of that together, and all of the evidence about hundreds of freak-offs that the jury heard about, saw graphic footage.
In their final statements, the prosecution made strong points, arguing that Diddy had surrounded himself with a close, influential circle that helped him maintain control over his empire for nearly 20 years. They suggested that this trusted group played a significant role in enabling Diddy's alleged criminal conduct, keeping activities hidden for an extended period. The prosecution emphasized that this network was central to the racketeering charges, demonstrating that the issue extended beyond individual acts. Instead, they described it as a structured and ongoing system designed to control and take advantage of others. This inner circle, according to the prosecution, was critical in executing and concealing the activities at the heart of the RICO case.
And they meticulously went through every single count and how they feel as though they've proven that case with testimony and evidence over the last nearly 7 weeks. And the one thing that they mainly focused on this morning is racketeering. And remember, that is the one that carries the heaviest sentence. That's life in prison. And one of the things that they said at the beginning, the prosecutor, is that Combs was more powerful because of his inner circle, a group of people with a common purpose. And this is the enterprise, not to be confused with his business that was called Combs Enterprises.
The prosecution's statements about Diddy's influential inner circle are not just isolated points. They align with what many have been saying for years. This is not the first time discussions about the hidden forces behind Diddy's success have surfaced. In fact, one of the most outspoken voices on this topic has been Suge Knight, the well-known music executive who has consistently made direct claims about the so-called power players in the industry. Suge Knight did not offer vague ideas. He made clear and detailed accusations. He has long argued that there were unseen figures supporting Diddy's rise, offering not only protection but also a shield of influence that made him nearly untouchable. According to Suge, Diddy's success was not just the result of having good lawyers or strong business teams. He had access to a powerful system that pushed him forward and helped him survive in a highly competitive industry. But there's another side to this story. Suge now believes that Diddy's current situation is different. He claims that Diddy knows too much about this system and the key figures behind it, which might now put his life at risk. According to Suge, the same network that once protected Diddy may now view him as a threat. Suge suggests that those powers have now stepped away from Diddy, and he could now face the consequences on his own.
He was doing, but he's in danger. He knows too much. One thing you gotta realize is he probably having a conversation right now with the higher ups and everybody else to figure out how it's gonna work itself out, because he know all the secrets, and if he gets to running his mouth, it could be a bad look. These guys is smart enough to be humble and wide enough to be aggressive tough. So when Puffy challenged him, and they knew Puffy lived in the glass house, his house came tumbling down. because those rocks was coming through that glass house. On the simple fact, when he called those guys racist, and he knew he had those secrets, hidden secrets.
PBD took this idea even further, asking a question that has since gained attention across social media. Was Diddy's long-standing connection with Daggio actually the shield that kept him untouchable for almost 2 decades? For more than 17 years. Diddy's name has been linked to numerous serious allegations, yet none of them seem to have long-lasting impact until now. Why is this moment different? PBD proposed that this wasn't simply due to chance or the work of excellent legal teams. According to him, Diddy's strong corporate alliances may have provided significant protection that went beyond just growing his brand. They might have served as his personal defense, keeping him from facing real consequences. Now, as those alliances appear to be falling apart, the shield that once safeguarded him seems to be breaking down, and with it, the barriers that kept him from accountability are starting to collapse.
Diddy sues Diageo. Diddy filed a lawsuit accusing Diageo of neglecting the De Leon brand, racial discrimination, claiming they marketed it as an urban product and failed to treat him as a true business partner. Then in January 2024, they settled out of court. Diageo and Diego settled the dispute out of court. While details still remain sealed, the settlement marked the end of their business relationship. So this is from 2007 till 2024. 17 years. Could they have protected him? I don't know. Their CEO currently today is Deborah Ann Crew. She was a former intelligence officer in the military. Once intelligence officer, forever you're an intelligence officer. Who knows what happened? We don't know the relationship. We're not going to make any accusations. All we know is, could this have been a protection?
Once that protection likely tied to Diddy's strong business relationship with Diageo disappeared following a quiet lawsuit and confidential settlement, things quickly began to fall apart. Just 2 months later, federal agents raided Diddy's home. The timing was too exact to overlook. It appeared that the moment Diageo ended their association, the path was suddenly clear. Was Diageo the silent protector all along? And when that shield was removed, did the real power brokers in the industry decide that Diddy was now vulnerable? The message seems clear. Without protection, no one remains beyond reach, not even a mogul who once dominated the music charts, the nightlife scene, and corporate boardrooms. The breakdown of his empire now appears to be part of a sequence where losing corporate support left him fully exposed to a world he once controlled. It now seems that without that backing, Diddy may no longer hold the untouchable status he once did.
Where they were at the parties and they knew things that were taking place and are like, wait, what do you want to do to us? No problem. Boom, drop the bomb. I don't know. All I'm saying is the timing, it's kind of strange. Maybe even they wanted to kind of be like, look, we know what's about to be dropped on this guy. We want to have nothing to do with you. We're out. Here's some money. You stay quiet. We'll pay you, but we want to get out of here. The only thing that the timing's kind of crazy is January 2024, they settled. 2 months later, remember what we're sitting there doing and minding our own business? And you hear, March of 2024, the feds are raiding Diddy's Miami home and his LA home. For what?
Even Joe Rogan chose to speak on the growing controversy surrounding Diddy. On his podcast, Rogan echoed what many people have been thinking, but few have openly said that this situation goes beyond a typical celebrity scandal. Rogan compared it to the Epstein case, suggesting the possibility that the justice system itself may be compromised, with some district attorneys potentially holding back evidence to protect the powerful. He implied that Diddy's situation might be another example of how influential individuals can control the system to avoid accountability, while others without the same connections face the full consequences.
I had conversations with people about it, and it's like, Jesus, like just trying to get the documents, like when they're trying to get the Epstein files, like they're the state of New York. One of the district attorneys was hiding documents that have forced them to give documents. I think there's so many powerful people that are on those lists. There's so many powerful people that went and part.
Rogan further suggested that something similar might be happening in Diddy's case. He pointed out that Diddy's well-known parties may not have been simple celebrity gatherings. According to Rogan, it's highly possible that some of the most influential people were regular attendees at these events. As the trial continues to develop, the concern may not just be about Diddy facing consequences, it could also be about who else might be brought into the spotlight as the process unfolds.
Air quotes, party. And how many of them went to the Diddy parties? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
Trials. Wild.
Joe Rogan didn't hold back. He suggested that Diddy could potentially spend the rest of his life in prison if the situation continues to develop as it has been. But then came an unexpected angle. Rogan and his guest also pointed out that this case might follow a pattern similar to the Epstein situation. Despite serious allegations and the involvement of influential figures, Epstein's trial never truly brought justice, and none of the key players were ever held responsible. Rogan questioned whether Diddy's case might lead to the same outcome: major headlines, shocking accusations, and eventually complete silence.
Then silence.
Well, Diddy's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's probably going to get
Think he's
hit up.
insane though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters. I mean, it's a lot of it is.
But then it's just another
There's-
Epstein.
there's
It's another
murder
Ghislaine Maxwell, where
there's
somebody
murder
gets indicted and
cases.
nobody else indicted for trafficking kids to
right
no
to,
one.
to know.
Joe also raised the idea that Diddy may not have been the sole architect behind everything. He questioned whether it's even possible for one person to design such a complex system, getting celebrities drugged, hosting extravagant parties, and organizing what some have called freak-offs. Rogan pointed out that the size, access, and secrecy involved suggest something much larger. He wondered if Diddy wasn't simply the leader, but perhaps part of a bigger network, or possibly something even more concerning.
Crazy. Now, if that's not an intelligence agency operation, it's just one fucking evil super genius who figures out how to compromise everybody by providing this crazy freak off party. Everybody's got to put their phones away. Okay, we're going to put our phone away. No one's going to know anything. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get cameras everywhere. It's just one guy doing that. What a diabolical human being.
Yeah.
He seems pretty diabolical.
He's probably working with somebody or for somebody.
Maybe.
And maybe he just got too far out there.
Some of the that came out in the trial, though, like he's forcing his girlfriend to have sex with prostitutes while he was sitting there jacking off with a bandana on. She'd rub the jizz on his nipples. Like, what are we even talking about?
In a recent discussion, Cube highlighted what many are beginning to believe. This situation doesn't seem random, nor does it appear to be justice suddenly stepping in after almost 20 years. According to Cube, the way this case is progressing, the carefully timed release of evidence, the organized media focus, and the shift from silence to major coverage points to something much more intentional. He argued that while Diddy certainly had a strong circle around him, it's now becoming clear that these individuals were not just present, they were actively shaping events behind the scenes. Cube suggested this might not simply be about Diddy's personal fall, but a carefully planned effort by those with greater influence, possibly coordinating the entire process to bring him down.
He's being targeted.
You believe he's being targeted?
Yeah, I believe, somebody, has the power to pull the trigger to make, this stuff, this domino effect happen.
All of this suggests that while Diddy has likely been supported by powerful figures throughout his questionable activities, their identities remain unspoken. It appears that Diddy is the central focus, and there's a real possibility that these hidden players may eventually let him fall, using this trial as the method to bring him down. However, the defense still has one final opportunity to present a strong case on Diddy's behalf. It remains to be seen whether they can shift the momentum in his favor or if the weight of the evidence will ultimately be too great for him to overcome. The next steps will be critical in shaping how the outcome unfolds.
Plays out.
What did it feel like?
It felt like Diddy's team was saying, y'all got us effed up. And y'all did our job for us, and we ain't gotta do nothing else. Y'all brought this man here, y'all wasted his time, his family's time, his energy. Now we about to let him walk out of this courtroom. Thank you for doing our job. Good night.
Well, the reality is that's the confidence his lawyer is supposed to have.
Man, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I've never thought that he was gonna walk clean away from this, but I didn't think that they would come with that confidence at the end of this. I did not.
No, they would have to. I'd be mad as hell if I'm paying them all this money and they ain't have no confidence.
I mean, but even presenting, like when they stood up to present their defense, they entered in, some transcripts from witness testimony from like Dawn, from Jane, from Mia, all these different people of like the times that they basically were caught up on the stand and
Diddy, on the other hand, seems confident that he will leave this situation without facing any charges. For the first time during the trial, he spoke out smiling, gesturing with his hand, and even thanking the judges for their handling of the proceedings. His calm and composed behavior suggested that he feels at ease and believes the trial is moving in his favor. This display of confidence may reflect his trust in his legal team's ability to manage the situation or his belief that the outcome will work in his favor.
A smile and a wave. And today, Diddy waived his right to testify. In open court, he revealed it was his own decision, telling the judge, "I'm doing great, and you're doing an excellent job." Diddy spoke out just after the 34th and final prosecution witness took the stand.
What's your perspective on what's really happening behind the scenes in Diddy's trial? Do you think the prosecution has built a strong case? Or is this part of a deliberate strategy to take down a powerful figure? Could Diddy's long-standing connections with influential corporate partners like Diageo have helped protect him for so many years? And with so many theories in circulation, do you believe this is part of a larger situation where Diddy is just one part of a much bigger story? Share your thoughts. What's your view on this high-stakes legal case? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more updates.